Very good morning to all of you. Ahlan wa sahlan. Now, it is indeed a great privilege to be given this opportunity to talk about the legacy of a great personality in the history of Islam or Muslims in the Philippines, as well as a prominent scholar of the contemporary Ummah. And his contribution, Ahmad Dumoko Alunto, his contribution, just maintain that one, just maintain, brother, the previous slide. Yeah, okay. Just would like to give you some kind of very brief overview. Now, the contribution of Ahmad Alunto in the vast field of knowledge had been imprinted not only in the history, but also in the hearts of many great leaders, scholars, both locally and internationally. Much has been written about the biography of Senator Dumoko Alunto, but there is no serious study that covers the contribution of Muslim scholars in the Mali world to the development of Alunto's thought and philosophy. Now, hence, the purpose of this presentation is to provide you a glimpse on the educational and political ideas of Dr. Alunto, which had been instrumental in the development of intercultural or intercivilizational exchange at the midst of secularism in the Philippines. Okay. Over the years, I would say that the given socioeconomic landscape of the Philippines and its remarkable agenda for a political social integration has made a major transformation in the various institutions, following the popular trends in the Western tradition as well as Islamic tradition, if it is in accordance with the Philippine Constitution. Now, examining the work of Ahmad Alunto, I think it is reflected directly or indirectly that the unresolved root of conflict emanating from the segregation between majority non-Muslim as well as the minority society or communities is essential. It is an essential dimension of the present discourse. Now, at the same time, the gradual recognition of Tawhidic worldview or epistemology is actually closely embedded in the theory, in the philosophy, in the views of Ahmad Dumoko Alunto. And in fact, it has been regarded as the driving force of his idea, both in his political ideas as well as educational ideas. So again, following the arguments as highlighted in the previous discourses given by great scholars who are invited in this webinar, I can see that the intercultural discourse can be spearheaded by institution of higher learning or maybe political institution in order to build bridges and channels of academic, scientific, and technological cooperation with other systems at the national level. Therefore, my thesis for this presentation is that my analysis rather, when I look at the overall contribution of Ahmad Dumoko Alunto, is that the true meaning of integration should serve the interests of the country and beyond. So this is very important for all of us, scholars of Nusantara, that we are here to reinvent, reformulate the true philosophy of integration. When I say integration, we are not only limiting to with the so-called integration of knowledge, but integration in all aspects, all human dimension, that it must be integrated if it is possible. And those things that cannot be integrated, then we have to find ways how to make it as silent as possible without touching the sensitivities of different communities. And I have witnessed how great nations like Indonesia, Brunei, Malaysia had been so successful in maintaining the so-called social harmony, and they are indebted due to the emergence of various Muslim scholars that they had produced over the century. Okay, that's my introduction before I proceed with the first slide.
Oke, Budi Narudin, silakan.
Terima kasih. Pertama-tama Profesor Dr. Ali Zaman mengucapkan terima kasih kepada panitia, khususnya kepada Brother Sahran untuk mengundang pada acara hari ini. Dan Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan tentang latar belakang ya, tentang tesisnya tentang Ahmad Damuka Alonto ya, khususnya bagi kontribusinya bagi wilayah Asia Tenggara. Jadi tesis yang ingin disampaikan adalah bahwa Ahmad Alonto itu memiliki gagasan tentang integrasi, karena sebagaimana kita tahu negara pasca kolonial ini memiliki problem-problem yang ditimbulkan pasca kedatangan kolonialisme, dan dalam konteks Filipina ada konflik yang belum terselesaikan, yaitu masalah relasi antara mayoritas dan minoritas, di mana mayoritas adalah non-Muslim dan minoritas di sana adalah Muslim. Jadi perlu diketahui juga bahwa Profesor Ali Zaman tadi menyebutkan bahwa dalam memikirkan tentang bagaimana integrasi ini bisa dilakukan, Dr. Ahmad Alonto menggunakan perspektif tauhidik ya, tauhidik karena perspektif tauhidiknya sangat sudah melekat dalam pemikirannya, sehingga dia berusaha untuk menggunakan perspektif ini tidak hanya dalam konteks yang dalam bidang keilmuan saja, yang sekarang dikenal dengan istilah integrasi of knowledge atau integrasi pengetahuan, tapi juga kepada level-level yang lain, level-level kenegaraan, level politik, sehingga kira-kira dia bisa menghasilkan satu integrasi yang holistik. Di istilahnya disebutkan sebagai integrasi in all aspect in human dimension ya, jadi integrasi di semua aspek kehidupan manusia, dan kira-kira ini bisa disebut sebagai sebuah proyek intercultural ya, jadi bagaimana menyatukan yang bisa disatukan, dan kemudian jika ada yang kira-kira memang tidak bisa disatukan, bagaimana mengelola perbedaan itu. Mungkin itu yang bisa saya sampaikan.
Okay. This particular slide, my purpose of presenting these points is just to come up with a background on the background on the evolution of contemporary Muslim scholars that had shaped Muslim societies, particularly in this region. Because of that, I believed that few Muslim movements that had evolved in the different parts of the Muslim world, like the faith movement of Said Nursi in the early 20th century, the Jamaat Islamic movement founded in 1941 by Abdul Ala Maududi in the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent, and the Jamaat Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Society of Muslim Brothers, founded by Hassan al-Banna, and Mustafa Asibai in Syria in mid-1940. Take note that this group of these different organizations have directly or indirectly shaped the philosophy or the educational, shall I say, ideas and political advocacies of Ahmad Dumukau Alunto. Now, we cannot deny the fact that this great organization that evolved in the Muslim world played a pioneering roles in the respective socio-political context in the preservation and protection of the purity of teachings of Islam from internal aggressions, division or distortion, and the defense of Islam and Muslim community from external threats and challenges. Now, this is an important thing that we have to reflect in studying or analyzing great scholars in our respective community, because definitely they are indebted to those organizations. Just proceed with the previous one. I will tell you when I will move. Okay, okay. Now, definitely, as I said, this organization make Muslim community conscious of the need to bring change, taghayyur, and reform, islah, at the individual levels, at the social level, the civilizational level, or the various institutions in accordance with the Quranic sources that emphasizes the necessity of positive change and reform. When I talk about change here that is being advocated by our great scholars, including Ahmad Alunto, is actually he endeavored to change the condition of his people from the state of munkar, reprehensible, undesirable, wrong, or evil condition, into a state of ma'rifah, which is good, desirable, or right, or acceptable. So next slide, please. Next slide. Now, then another very important observation that I would like to share here is that Muslim organizations, not everything coming from the West or other cultures, are being refused or being rejected because there are also positive aspects of those cultures that must be kept and to be eventually be integrated into the culture or the system of Muslims. And you can see here, I have noticed throughout my reading that Ahmad Alunto Dumukau was trying to make a kind of negotiation with his people, not to totally reject the advanced technological advancement of the non-Muslims. Now, they disapprove, for example, here in the case of Alunto, he disapproved a kind of mindset being uncritical or the tendency to observe the cultural norms of Western or secular modernity. This is actually what he was trying, because in the beginning, his education is not that well established when it comes to Islamic tradition, but later on there is a kind of transformation. Now, the phenomenon of the secularized or Western elites eroding the Islamic identity of the community and eventually succumbing to the imported ideology of secularism, capitalism, secular nationalism, or agnostic was one of the most objectionable scenarios faced by the Muslim movements. What I'm trying to say here is that with all the organizations that evolved in our society, what is in front of them is how to come up with a proper response, intellectual responses, and religious responses that would make Islam as respectable community. Now, therefore, both internal and external challenges threaten the purity of Islamic creed, and the ethical values are meant to direct the society and lives of Muslim believers towards the well-being in this world and in the hereafter. What I'm saying is that Muslim scholars, leaders who are very much charismatic, are very much concerned about upholding, developing Islamic creed as well as the values. Because to them, there is a need to reassert the holistic, balanced, and non-violent worldview of Islam and authentic interpretation by the sincere defenders of Islam. So this is actually clearly manifested among the scholars of Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines, that there is an urgency to come up with a holistic approach. And that holistic approach is an authentic interpretation of the religious and intellectual tradition of Islam. Yes, you can translate now.
Jadi Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan bahwa kita dapat melihat pemikiran atau gerakan yang diinisiasi oleh Ahmad Alonto itu dalam gambaran lebih besar sebagai bagian dari gerakan islah atau reformasi di era postkolonial, khususnya di era ketika negara bangsa sudah terbentuk akibat pengaruh kolonialisme. Jadi Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan tentang misalkan gerakan yang sama terjadi di Turki di bawah Said Nursi, di Pakistan ada Maududi, di Mesir ada Hasan al-Banna. Semua itu memiliki kesamaan, yaitu upaya untuk melakukan islah atau perubahan yang sifatnya positif. Tentu di sini positif di sini merujuk kepada worldview atau perspektif tauhidik ya. Dan problem di masa postkolonial itu adalah bahwasanya tidak sepenuhnya segala sesuatu yang berasal dari Barat yang kemudian masuk di negara-negara postkolonial itu sepenuhnya buruk. Di sini yang menjadi penting adalah melakukan dialog kritis terhadap masuknya ide-ide atau pengaruh-pengaruh dari Barat tersebut. Hal-hal yang positif itu bisa diterima, tapi yang sifatnya merusak, khususnya misalkan sekularisme, naturalisme, agnostisisme, dan lain-lain, atau norma-norma yang asing itu, yang bertentangan dengan spirit tauhid, itulah yang ditolak. Dapat dikatakan inilah yang coba untuk diperjuangkan, diislah oleh para pemikir, para ulama, para pemimpin gerakan itu di berbagai negara, termasuk juga dalam hal ini Dr. Alonto di Filipina. Jadi yang ditawarkan adalah islah itu berupa dijelaskan oleh Dr. Ali Zaman tadi adalah holistic, jadi holistic, balance, and non-violent worldview of Islam. Jadi kira-kira dalam perjuangan islah ini berdasarkan pada fondasi satu worldview Islam yang sifatnya holistik, tidak parsial, balance ya. Jadi kira-kira tidak berat sebelah dan juga non-violent, jadi tidak menggunakan kekerasan, tapi menggunakan sarana-sarana yang lebih dialogis. Jadi itulah yang kira-kira dipakai untuk melakukan islah yang tentunya setiap permasalahan di masing-masing negara memiliki kekhasannya sendiri, termasuk dalam hal ini masalah Filipina. Terima kasih.
Okay, next slide, please. It is actually very important to all of us here to know as much as possible the personality of a great Muslim scholar that emerged in the southern Philippines. His name is Ahmad Dumoko Alonto. I regarded him as a renewalist, a reformist Muslim leader in the Philippines for several reasons. And that reason is being acknowledged by a great organization under King Faisal Foundation. And he was awarded as the King Faisal International Prize. And the reason for that is because of his service to Islam. Now, it's not only due to the great political ideas of Ahmad Alonto, but rather due to some new and dynamic interpretation of Islam and its relevance in the secular state. And he has been regarded as among the 10 great Muslim leaders of the 20th century. And at the same time, he has been regarded by Muslims, especially his co-tribes, the Marano, including me, as a legend of his time, a legend to the people of Moroland, and also a very important personality to the non-Muslims in the Philippines due to his immense contribution in the vast field of knowledge as well as the transformation of the country. And Ahmadu Mukaw Alunto has been regarded by the Muslim world as a visionary man, a great teacher, a great social reformer, a statesman, a pragmatic politician, and a champion of the rights of Muslims in the Philippines. And all these great achievements of Ahmadu Mukaw Alunto, he is indebted, definitely indebted to with the great scholars of the region, especially when he encountered great leaders of the region, like for example, later on Sukarno and Tunku Abdul Rahman, as well as even those leaders of the Ummah that sometimes people are having a kind of, shall I say, unacceptable reactions against them. But as a dynamic leader, Ahmadu Mukaw had tried to establish a good relationship with those people. Now, he is actually a father of contemporary Mindanao Sulu communities, and due to his struggle for for right of self-determination. Now, examining what is the reason of his greatness, I mean, his great contribution is due to his sincere, selfless dedication to the cause of Islam and the Muslims. I have witnessed when I was a small boy back in the 70s, that wherever you go in the public places, the talk of those people were the great philosophy, jokes, stories, ideas of the Mukaw Alunto. His creative response to the challenges faced by a Muslim, which means he is a great leader who had responded to the different problems in a very positive manner. His determined efforts to resolve the problem faced by the Muslims. So he was a person who was very optimistic that change can take place gradually and so on. Okay, he wanted me to move to another slide. It's okay. Now, Mukaw Alunto, I regard him as a great Muslim and a great Filipino. When I say great Muslim and a great Filipino, it means to people in a different perspective. You know, when you talk about a great Muslim, what makes you a great Muslim, and what makes you a great Filipino? Because there were many great Muslim scholars in the Philippines, but they don't even accept the fact that they were Filipinos. Now, again, because of his tremendous services to Islam, he has been recognized for that. And his contribution symbolizes the wisdom of Islam and brotherhood among Filipino. What does it mean here, the wisdom? What do we mean by wisdom here? He came up with a very, as I said, a very practical efforts, practical solution to the different problems faced by Muslim communities. Mukaw Alunto was at the forefront of efforts to promote Islamic education, religion, culture, and to advance political and economic development of the Muslims. Alonto was a man who brought many Filipinos closer to the wisdom of Islam and the brotherhood of all Filipinos. Why I mention this is that prior to his works, prior to his political exchange of ideas with non-Muslim politicians, very few politicians, especially the policymakers, are familiar with the concept of Islam. And because of his presence in the House of Senate or Congress, then eventually Islam has been heard. Now, therefore, Domoco Alonto had established a common ground between the culture of the majority and the culture of the minority. And he was, as I said, very optimistic that change can be achieved through the pursuit of a meaningful concept of progress, development, or we call it taghayyur or tajdid.
Ya, Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan bahwa ketokohan Dr. Alonto ini sudah diakui baik oleh dunia internasional, seperti misalkan dia mendapat penghargaan King Faisal pada tahun 1988, termasuk juga dia diakui baik oleh kalangan Muslim ataupun non-Muslim di Filipina. Dan bagi kalangan masyarakat Muslim di Filipina, dia dinobatkan sebagai bapak dari bangsa Moro kontemporer. Moro itu adalah Mindanao Sulu. Dia kira-kira juga bisa diperbandingkan misalkan dengan tokoh semacam Soekarno di Indonesia ataupun Tengku Abdurrahman di Malaysia. Dan kira-kira menurut analisis dari Dr. Ali Zaman, apa yang membuat dia begitu mendapatkan rekognisi yang besar adalah karena dia memiliki sifat yang sepenuh hati dan tanpa pamrih dalam memperjuangkan apa yang dipercayainya sebagai kebenaran. Dan dia memiliki sifat yang kreatif responsif, jadi dia memiliki respon kreatif terhadap problem-problem yang dihadapi oleh umat Islam di Filipina dan juga bagaimana soal integrasi nasional. Dan Dr. Ali Zaman juga menjelaskan secara lebih jauh tentang pribadi dari Dr. Alonto ini, di mana dia menyimpulkan wisdom of Islam, kebijaksanaan Islam, dan juga brotherhood of Filipinos, ya. Jadi dia menyimpulkan dari kebijaksanaan Islam dan juga persaudaraan di antara Filipinos, ya, di antara bangsa Filipina, di mana dia memiliki kontribusi yang sekali lagi sangat besar baik bagi komunitas Muslim, misalkan dia merupakan penganjur dari sistem pendidikan Islam. Dia juga berkontribusi dalam memperjuangkan hak politik dan ekonomi di kalangan umat Islam. Dia juga berusaha untuk menyebarkan makna Islam yang sebenarnya kepada masyarakat mayoritas Filipina yang mayoritasnya Kristen. Dan hal ini dia lakukan misalkan salah satunya karena dia berposisi sebagai senator yang duduk di parlemen. Dia bisa memberikan pengertian-pengertian yang benar tentang Islam kepada kepada masyarakat Filipina. Sementara pada zaman itu senator-senator karena pada umumnya tidak memiliki pengetahuan yang pada Islam, jadi sehingga dia adalah salah satu pionir yang sangat penting di situ dalam mendorong common ground, ya, satu relasi yang sifatnya resiprokal antara masyarakat Muslim yang sebagai minoritas di Filipina dan juga masyarakat Kristen yang sebagai mayoritas di sana. Jadi kira-kira dia ingin memperjuangkan progres dan well-being of all Filipinos. Jadi kira-kira dia ingin memperjuangkan kesejahteraan dan kemudian juga kemajuan, tentunya kemajuan yang berdasarkan pada spirit tauhid yang bisa bermanfaat bagi semua rakyat Filipina. Terima kasih.
Okay. Now, looking at the time, I think I would like to skip a few slides, and if we have enough time, then we can go back to those slides that I have escaped. Now, let us first go on the eye opener that had shaped the shall I say, the philosophy, the idea, or the epistemological underpinnings of Ahmad Damuqo Alonto. We cannot deny the fact that his influential father, Sultan of Ramain, Alawi Alonto, who was also a former senator in the Philippines, who had actively participated in the establishment or the development of the Philippine Commonwealth, and he had closely followed the footsteps of his father as a political Muslim icon. Now, we must always remember that we are talking about here the impact of colonialism and how Muslim had responded to the problem of colonialism. And colonialism is, it doesn't only challenge the society, the social structure, but the big challenge of colonialism is how it eventually eroded the knowledge system of Islam. So in the case of the Spanish-American War in 1898, Muslim communities have witnessed the military defeat of the Moro, and that is because of the technological superior of the Americans during the subsequent American Moro Wars. So I think the overall analysis of Ahmad Damuqo's work is very much related to how the father and how he had responded to the problem of colonialism. And because of that, it served as a testament to the Moros' undaunted bravery and determination to fight for the religion, people, and land. Now, here, when I use the word to fight, take note that he did not support the idea of armed struggle in a way, although he come up with a framework of how armed struggle, like for example, the development, the evolution of Moro National Liberation Front headed by Nur Miswari, and later on the Moro Islamic Liberation Front headed by Hasim Salamat. And in the idea of how Islam had to be the so-called search engine of that Islamic movement, those great movements in the Philippines until now, they are actually indebted to the idea of Damuqo Alonto. And I think his nonviolent approach, that nonviolent approach is very much alive in the concept of revolutionary philosophy, although Hasim Salamat and Nur Miswari were who had confronted the aggression, the military aggression of the Philippine government. But they had to do that because there was no option given to them. Otherwise, they will follow strictly the framework given by Ahmad Damuqo Alonto. Now, as an opener for the young Alonto, Ahmad Damuqo, education, according to the Sultan, is a very powerful and effective weapon to be used by the Muslim in order to resist the so-called colonial assimilation, in order to defend Islam, and in order to defend and preserve the people and its culture, the land, and ultimately inshallah, I hope that very soon we'll be able to regain back the freedom that we have lost throughout the decades. Yes,
Yeah.
brother.
Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan bahwa pengaruh besar dari Sultan Ramain, ayah dari Dr. Alonto, dalam mempengaruhi cara berpikirnya. Jadi kira-kira salah satu yang paling penting di dalam masyarakat pasca kolonial adalah tidak hanya terkait dengan social structure yang kemudian berhasil dirombak oleh kekuatan kolonial, tapi bagaimana kekuatan kolonial itu mampu mengerosi atau menghapus ya dari sistem pengetahuan berbasis Islam. Maka kemudian hal ini misalkan tergambar ketika bangsa Moro itu kalah perang melawan kekuatan Spanyol Amerika di tahun 1898 dengan kekuatan teknologinya, maka kemudian Dr. Alonto kemudian sebenarnya mengadopsi apa yang dipahami yang diperjuangkan oleh Sultan Ramain ya, ayahnya, bahwa Sultan Ramain menganggap bahwa pendidikan itu menjadi senjata yang paling hebat kira-kira untuk melawan penjajahan, karena dia bisa melawan proses asimilasi dalam arti budayanya diseragamkan menjadi budaya kolonial, dan dengan pada saat yang sama pendidikan juga mampu untuk mempertahankan Islam sebagai pandangan hidup, dan kemudian juga mempertahankan kultur dari masyarakat Muslim di situ. Dan pada akhirnya dengan menggunakan pendidikan itu umat Islam bisa mendapatkan kemerdekaannya secara hakiki. Dapat dikatakan model pendidikan inilah yang kemudian diterjemahkan oleh Dr. Alonto menjadi non-violent atau pendekatan non-kekerasan, atau bisa dikatakan sebagai filsafat yang revolusioner, tapi dalam arti di sini menggunakan edukasi untuk pembebasan. Gitu. Terima kasih.
Okay, skip this one. Skip this slide. Skip this slide. Skip this slide. Okay. Now, I'm looking at our time. Then because of that, I really need to skip some of the points here, but just would like to mention here about his education. Very, very brief. It is when you refer to the biography of Alonto, his early education, he got it from the mother. He attended government school. He obtained college education at the University of the Philippines, and he is a licensed lawyer. And he started to practice law in 1938. And of course, his exposure to politics is very, shall I say, relevant in our understanding of his contribution. Now, my point in this slide, I want to highlight the 1950s, which is actually regarded as the turning point in Ahmad Dumuko Alonto's life. And it started when he received the translation of the Quran. And during that time, Mamaduke Piktal was the most popular translation, and he got the translation, and his being as a voracious reader, he was able to comprehend the translations. He read the Quran in a translation form. And later on, eventually, he studied together with great local ustads to assist him to read the Quran, and eventually he was able to read. Now, he become at the same time please take note about his interaction with two Indonesian Muslim graduates of Al-Azhar. I'm still searching the personality of those two great Indonesian students from Azhar, who helped him and guided him in the study of Islam. Of course, in the 1950s, at the same time, we must understand that Mindanao saw the arrival of foreign Muslim missionaries as resurgence in the faith gradually began to sweep across the Islamic world from the Middle East to Southeast Asia and from Africa to Central Asia. This particular year is not only a turning point to Dumukau Alunto, but actually is a turning point of the Muslim society in Southeast Asia because of the influx, because of the arrival of foreign missionaries, Muslim foreign missionaries. Many of them, Alhamdulillah, many of them brought with them not only the culture of their respective country, but the ideas, the worldview of Islam. Now, this was heralded by the appearance of new independent Muslim nation states that emerged from European colonialism. This has made Moros better aware of their greater identity as Muslim and their belonging to the larger ideological community of Islam. I still remember when I in the late 70s, I realized that two of our neighbors were from Egypt, and one of these our neighbors had been one of our great professor of IIUM, Allah Yarham, Ahmad Hasuba. And he taught Arabic in the College of King Faisal for Islam and Arabic Studies at Mindanao State University. And from that time, Islamic awareness, Islamic teachings were eventually developed due to the contribution of this group of people. Okay.
Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan bahwa selain pengaruh dari ayahnya, kita bisa melihat pengaruh dari luar yang membentuk pemikiran dari Ahmad Alunto ya, bahwa di tahun 1950 menjadi turning point atau menjadi titik balik menjadi dari kehidupan Dr. Ahmad ya, di mana ada 4 hal yang mempengaruhinya, yaitu pertama adalah terjemahan Quran bahasa Inggris oleh Muhammad Marmaduke Tiftal yang dia baca dan kemudian merangsangnya untuk mendalami Islam secara lebih dalam. Yang kedua, adanya ustadz-ustadz dari Indonesia yang merupakan lulusan Al-Azhar yang kemudian membantunya belajar agama Islam. Yang ketiga, masuknya dai-dai Muslim internasional dari berbagai negara, khususnya Timur Tengah, yang kemudian juga memperkuat world view of Islam di kalangan masyarakat Muslim Filipina. Dan yang terakhir adalah kemerdekaan negara-negara Muslim dari kolonialisme. Dan ini menumbuhkan sense of ummah pada masyarakat Muslim Filipina yang lebih besar. Kira-kira itu adalah kontribusi dari luar yang membentuk pikiran Dr. Ahmad. Terima kasih.
Okay, let's escape social importance of social integration. Escape this slide. The networks of Muslim leaders. Escape this one also. Escape. Continuation also escape. Responses to Marxism and influence on the Muslim youth, you can also escape, and we proceed with the legacy. Now, I think we have less than, I think only 10 minutes left in my time. Then I would like to look at this legacy. First, go back to the first legacy, please. The first slide on the legacy. Legacy. Okay, the first slide on the legacy. Okay, now the first legacy. Back to the man. Okay, back to the daily night lectures. Okay, this one. Now, one of the greatest legacies that can be attributed to Ahmad Dumukau is his daily night lectures. Visit Marawi City and Lanao del Sur. They will tell you exactly every details of those night lectures, especially his stories about the old Egypt and how Egypt had experienced the so-called meaningful transformation when it comes to the influence of Azhar. So the institution of Azhar is very much alive in the mind of Muslims of the past in the 70s. Unlike today, what is the dominant is the life in Saudi Arabia, but back in the 70s, the life in Egypt, wherever you go in the Philippines, Egypt is in the mind and in the heart of the Muslims. And in fact, even the language, how they pronounce Arabic terms is very much influenced by Egyptian pronunciation. So that night lecture, and you see here, one of the important the teaching, he said, love people because they will love you back. The more knowledge you give them, the more reward you will be receiving from God. This is actually the wisdom that until now people are attributing it to what they call this, to the family of Alonto. They are peace-loving people. Now, the present governor and even the previous governor, okay, they had never been engaged, although, you know, Mindanao is known of kind of what they call this, fighting here and there among politicians, but his grandchildren who are politicians are peaceful politicians, and this is because of this concept of love as well as education. And they had invested a lot of money for education until today, and that is because of, for example, the establishment of Mindanao State University, the Jamiatul Philippine Al-Islami, which is actually a university run by family Wakaf of Alonto family. Now, and this is actually the purpose of this institution, is to at least to assure or to give an equal access to a quality education to the Muslims, so that they will be able to have a par with the non-Muslims. Now, Alonto, as a great leader, as a great policy maker, okay, a great legislative person, he had authored an important bill in the Congress, which we call it the National Commission on National Integration. And this particular commission is responsible of providing scholarship to poor Muslims throughout Mindanao, and they were able to study in the colleges and universities in the countries, and also even universities outside the country, like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kuwait, Malaysia, Indonesia, Libya, Qatar, and so on and so forth. And such kind of experience, the educational upliftment of the Muslims, we are actually indebted to Ahmad Alonto Dumoko. So even me, I feel when I studied in IIUM, the president of Mindanao State University was the junior of Ahmad Dumoko Alonto, Ahmad Dumoko Alonto Jr., because the person that we are dealing now is the senior. So the junior was the president during when I studied in Mindanao State University, and I was sent to International Islamic University through the recommendation of the Alontos. Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Ya, Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan beberapa warisan dari Dr. Alonto ya. Yang pertama adalah daily night lecture atau kuliah malam tiap hari. Mana salah satu pesan yang paling penting adalah terkait dengan masalah cinta. Bagaimana ketika kita mencintai seorang, maka mereka akan balas mencintai dirimu. Jadi sehingga ini salah satu ajaran penting. Dia bisa mendekatkan antara berbagai macam kalangan di Filipina. Yang kedua adalah membangun Mindanao State University dan juga Jamiatul Philippine Al-Islamiyah, di mana ini adalah institusi pendidikan yang dibangun atas wakaf dari keluarga Alonto. dengan alasan supaya orang-orang Muslim itu bisa mengakses pendidikan yang setara dengan kalangan Kristen di Filipina. Dan yang ketiga, dia sebagai senator, dia memiliki andil dalam membuat undang-undang CNI yang fungsinya adalah memberikan beasiswa kepada kalangan Muslim yang miskin sehingga dia bisa bersekolah melanjutkan pendidikan di berbagai universitas, termasuk di sini adalah universitas di luar negeri. Semacam itu diantara dari warisan dari Dr. Alonto. Terima kasih.
Okay, next slide, please. Now, Dr. Alonto's legacy, people in the Philippines regarded him as the person who was an instrumental in strengthening Islamic awareness. And such kind of Islamic awareness was due to the evolution of the so-called Ansar al-Islam. Ansar al-Islam played an important role towards, shall I say, improving Muslim society by exhorting the people to revert to the pristine teachings of Islam and to lead their lives according to its lofty moral values. So Ansar al-Islam is neither an Islamic thought or a political, shall I say, political organization, but it is a Muslim movement which was intended in order to transform the Muslim communities in a very peaceful manner. He inculcated Islamic values, and that particular values, he encouraged people to speak his mind out. He encouraged them to be assertive if they were right. Now, this is an important value because a traditional Maranao society are actually very, people are very, shall I say, obedient to the seniors, obedient to the elders. Whatever the elder will say, they will just simply say yes. But from the perspective of Ahmad Damuka Alonto, when you feel that you are right, then you have to assert your right, okay? And you have to, shall I say, speak of, you have to argue in a very peaceful manner. And that is very much reflected in his policy, in his relationship with the non-Muslim. In the Congress, nobody can stop him, even when it comes to arguments with the president during the dictator regime of Marcos. In fact, he confronted Marcos in the different, shall I say, forum, criticizing him due to his, shall I say, oppressive policies when he declared martial law. Then again, another important value that he reminded the Muslim is to shun or to run away from this negative value, which is what we call crab mentality. Filipino use the word crab mentality because you see, when you are catching the crabs, you put it in the basket. And the crab will climb the basket, and when he is about to escape from the basket, then he will be pulled by his friends, and he will be back to the inside the basket. So there is no progress, there is no development, and that is the disease of the Ummah, according to him. Now he was very much instrumental in uniting the 13 ethnic groups in the Philippines. And he was very critical about the amigo mentality. When I say amigo mentality, is actually a kind of mindset of Muslims who work with the non-Muslim and never questions whatever the dictates of the Manila politician. He was very much, shall I say, critical on that. I have already mentioned what are the organizations that shaped the mind of Alonto, and what I can say is that his opinion on religious matters was very much sought after until today. Okay.
Ali Zaman menjelaskan bahwa salah satu di antara warisan dari Dr. Alanto adalah bagaimana memperkuat ya kesadaran Islam kepada masyarakat Filipina Muslim melalui apa yang disebut sebagai gerakan Ansor al-Islam, itu atau gerakan yang kira-kira memperkuat nilai-nilai Islam, view Islam di dalam masyarakat Filipina. Di antara bukti-bukti atau hal yang ingin dia lampaui dengan penanaman nilai-nilai Islam ini, misalkan adalah adanya crab mentality, di mana ada kecenderungan dari orang Muslim yang tidak mau berkembang, semacam itu, jadi takut untuk berkembang. Ada juga kemudian mentalitas yang tidak mau berbicara, diam gitu kan, semacam itu. Padahal itu adalah sebuah kebenaran. Jadi ini yang ingin dilampaui dengan nilai-nilai Islam. Jika benar maka harus berani untuk menyatakan. Dan juga ada apa yang disebutkan sebagai amigo mentality. Jadi kira-kira dia merasa minder, perasaan minder kepada kalangan non-Muslim di politisi di mana Mindanao, gitu kan. Kira-kira apa yang dikatakan itu ya sudah tidak bisa dikritisi. Mungkin kalau di Indonesia ada istilah asal bapak senang, kira-kira semacam itu yang ingin dilampaui, sehingga di sini Muslim memiliki mentalitas yang merdeka, mentalitas yang berbasis pada spirit Islam yang tidak tunduk pada hal-hal yang keliru atau memang hal-hal yang tidak harus dibenahi. Terima kasih.
Next slide. Okay, one of the most important legacy of Dumoko Alonto is when he attempted to translate Quranic text into Marano language. Although he was not trained in the science of tafsir, but because of his closeness with alim, a particular local alim, a local scholar, who was the one who translated the whole Quran into Iranian language, Ahmad Dumoko Alonto had made sure that he consulted the different great ulama who studied in the Middle Eastern countries, especially in Egypt. Now, another important work of Ahmad Dumoko Alonto is his translation of an important poem or literature produced by our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. The title is Mi Ultimo Adios. Mi Ultimo Adios is roughly to be translated as the last farewell. Just like in the case of our Prophet Muhammad SAW, the Khutbatul Wida. Of course, I'm not comparing it with it, but this Mi Ultimo Adios contains important messages, especially it aroused the feelings of love and freedom of, for example, the homeland, the Moroland, for example. So the Mi Ultimo Adios, how it translated into our dialect, I don't understand classical Maranos, but I love to listen how it is being recited, because I would say the word is full of meaning, full of, shall I say, feeling that you can feel not only at the cognitive aspect of your understanding, but you can feel in the so-called the intuitive dimension of such kind of knowledge due to its penetrating, shall I say, ideas into the essence of man's existence. I'm not promoting here Mi Ultimo Adios as a religious text, but rather we cannot deny the fact how much Jose Rizal had been influenced by the great scholars around this region. Now, he traveled around the world. He traveled around the country, and he consulted people. He consulted people on matters on how to resolve the problems of the Ummah with regards to education, with regards to cultural transformation, with regards to religious understanding, and so on. And because of that, as I had mentioned before, that if unitary system cannot be, shall I say, achieved in a harmonious way, but at least one option that is left, according to him, is unity in diversity. Unity in diversity, and such kind of unity in diversity resonates among many people, Muslims, who share out a mutually beneficial political settlement with the Christian Filipinos. Okay.
Di antara warisan lain dari Dr. Alonto adalah yang pertama, dia terlibat dalam proyek penerjemahan Al-Quran ke dalam bahasa Maranao, ya, supaya lebih mudah dipahami oleh umat Muslim Filipina. Yang kedua, dia menerjemahkan puisi dari Jose Rizal, Mi Ultimo Adios atau Selamat Tinggal tadi, ke dalam dialek Maranao, supaya pesan-pesan anti kolonial dan semangat anti kolonial semacam itu bisa menyerap di kalangan Muslim Filipina yang tidak terlalu fasih untuk membaca dalam bahasa yang Spanyol. Dan puisi ini di Indonesia sudah diterjemahkan oleh Rosyan Anwar di tahun 1945 nanti sebagai tambahan. Dan dia juga berusaha untuk mendengar berbagai masalah Muslim di Mindanao, dan salah satu kontribusinya di dalam bidang politik adalah dia berusaha untuk mencari jalan tengah untuk kemaslahatan baik kaum Muslimin Filipina dan juga mayoritas non-Muslim atau Kristen di sana, dengan slogannya Unity in Diversity. Jadi kira-kira satu bangsa yang bisa menjadi tempat yang nyaman bagi masyarakat Muslim maupun non-Muslim di kemudian hari. Terima kasih.
Okay, this will be the last slide, and I hope this will be the conclusion of our discussion today, because looking at the time is now 12:32. Alhamdulillah, I feel that the translation is very precise, very straightforward, and in fact, very, very clear. And thank you so much on that. And let's look at this last slide. I will spend 1 or 2 minutes on this. Yes, Ahmadu Muko Alonto, he passed away on December 11, 2002, back in Marawi City, due to a certain disease, cancer disease, and so on. But you see, when he was on the bed, when he was bedridden, many stories coming from relatives and close friends and so on. He keeps on thinking about his ummah. Just like in the case of Prophet Muhammad SAW, he is not talking about nafsi nafsi, but ummati ummati. Okay, he was talking about that, and because he died as a sad man. Why he died as a sad man? It's not because of his failure in following or shall I say institutionalizing the ideas of Islam into a practical way, but that is not the reason. He was very sad because knowing that the conflict in Mindanao, whose resolution he devoted his life, is still far from over. You see, Norme Sori was still bringing the youth in the jungle, and then Hasim Salamat, who separated from Iswari from MNLF, and he created his Moro Islamic Liberation Front. He feel that there is an internal division within the Islamic movements, okay, and that particular eternal division in the Ummah makes him very sad. But the most problematic, shall I say, the greatest frustration of Ahmad Dumoko Alonto, it stemmed from the fact that the Filipino ruling elites have invariably ignored the reality that the only remedial justice for the Moro Muslims in Mindanao and Sulu can rectify the wrongs committed against them in the past, address current legitimate grievances, and thus resolve peacefully the conflict in the Moro land. So when talking about this, his frustration towards the Filipino ruling elites. I just want to give you an example when it comes to education. What had been done by policymakers from the North? They formulate a curriculum, and that curriculum, okay, is just like a kind of food that they cook in Manila, and they offer the food to the Muslims. And you know already that this particular food and we call it half cook, okay, cooked by policymakers in Mindanao, I mean in Manila, and the Muslim youth are the direct recipients of this. And what happened to the Muslim youth? They feel, they know, they realize that they are not represented in the throughout education system. Just like you have been offered with the food, but the food is not your taste. So this is actually what really happened. And until today, of course, there is a gradual development of what happened in the 70s, and this is because of the so-called gradual recognition of the importance, the contemporary relevance of Islamic epistemology and worldview in the contemporary Muslim societies. Okay, and I think on the right side, you already these are important points that would encapsulate our discussion, particularly on the legacy of Dumoko Alonto. What I can say is Dumoko is an institution. It's a working institution. Why working institution? Because of his accomplishment in the field of education, in the field of politics, his advocacy for Muslims' self-determination, the preservation and the revival of Islam. And of course, we are not claiming that his approach, his understanding is perfect, but at least until now, I cannot see, I have not encountered literatures that may surpass the contribution of Ahmad Dumoko Alonto. That's the reason why people are admiring him as a great Muslim scholar, as a great leader of the century. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dari pemaparan terakhir Dr. Ali Zaman, Dr. Ali Zaman menegaskan bahwa Dr. Alonto itu meninggal pada bulan Desember, 11 Desember 2002 dalam keadaan yang sedih ya, sebagaimana mungkin Nabi juga meninggal dalam keadaan sedih memikirkan umatnya. Sementara Dr. Alonto sedih karena dia merasa bahwa gerakan islah yang dimulainya itu belum mencapai hasil yang memuaskan karena masalah Muslim di Filipina, khususnya di Filipina Selatan itu masih jauh dari usai. Jadi masih resolusi belum sepenuhnya terjadi di selatan. Dan ada dua hal yang membuat Dr. Alonto merasa sedih, karena yang pertama adalah masih adanya perpecahan di antara internal Muslim sendiri dalam memperjuangkan hak-haknya. Sementara yang juga paling menyedihkannya adalah dia merasa bahwa elit-elit di Mindanao itu ibu kota Filipina, itu dianggap memang tidak memiliki kepekaan dan kemudian memiliki kehendak untuk mengangkat kaum Muslim di Mindanao. Jadi ibaratnya tadi Dr. Ali Zaman menjelaskan bahwa ibaratnya seorang yang memasak makanan yang setengah matang, jadi diberikan kepada umat Islam ya tidak mau karena bukan masakan yang matang. Hal ini berbeda dengan misalkan kalau politisi di Manila memberikan kepada masyarakat non-Muslim sehingga mereka diberikan masakan yang matang. Tidak adil, ketidakadilan semacam itu. Dan sebenarnya terhadap masalah elit di Filipina ini, Dr. Alonto mengatakan bahwa sebenarnya yang dibutuhkan adalah elit di Manila adalah mengakui kesalahan pendekatannya di masa lalu dan kemudian menapaki jalan damai dengan kaum muslimin di Filipina Selatan sehingga masalah ini tahap demi tahap bisa diselesaikan dengan damai dan kemudian berbuah kepada Filipina yang bisa mempersatukan ya, bisa menjadi tempat yang nyaman bagi semua kalangan. Itu mungkin yang bisa disampaikan. Terima kasih. Saya kembalikan kepada Saudara Sahran.